Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and for those of you that are new here, my name's Lauren and this is my allotment channel. So I wanted to start this week's video with a bit of a clip from last week actually. So I came down to the plot just to, I can't remember what, someone was bringing down some bark and things for me. And when I came down, I felt as though everybody had tidied up their plot around me. They'd prepped it ready for spring, and mine just looked awful. Not only looked awful, but I just felt like I was really behind everybody else. Sort of to be expected, because the people around me have had their plots a lot longer than me, and obviously I started in September with a very overgrown plot. But yeah, I just didn't like the way it looked. I thought if the council see it or the councillors see it, it just looks messy. So yeah, I had a bit of a wobbly and filmed this clip on my weekly vlog. It's Tuesday and I've just had a friend come down and deliver the bark. I've got a lot to do, a lot to do. I'm not here for long today because it is just my lunch break, but at some point in the next few days I need to take this polytunnel down because it looks a mess. I need to, where the polytunnel has been, and obviously we've moved the weed suppressant, I need to cover it back over because the weeds are coming through, and that is just a never-ending battle at this time of year. My beds I need to finish off. The bark will be going down as a path. The garlic looks okay. This bed is obviously empty. Something that I've done today is, this is my rhubarb, these 3 bits here, which you can see up there, but they had weeds coming through where I'd cut the weed suppressant and it was quite big, quite a big gap. So I've just popped cardboard underneath there just to suppress those weeds. I need to sweep because all of these bits of mud just make it look messy. Yeah, and then I need to, it literally looks like a dumping ground at the minute, so I need to get rid of all of this bark and get it down on the ground. That is not bark, that's a bag of rubbish that needs going home. Oh gosh, feels a bit overwhelming this week. I definitely need to see if I can book a week off work soon and spend it here basically, to get ahead of the season. My beds are looking okay, there's a bit of a weed coming through. Our paths between us and the neighbour isn't ideal, lots of weeds. Oh, yes, very overwhelming at this point in the week, but we'll get there. I'm sure we'll get there. I'm just a bit, I just don't want people to come down and think, what on earth is she doing with that allotment? It looks a mess, she's not growing anything, you know, and get one of those dreaded letters that I've seen about this week, not here, but on other allotment plots. So yeah, I need to get sorted and I need to get ahead before I fall behind, basically. Scary. Yeah, so I had a bit of a panic on really, not only feeling like I was behind everybody else, but just that it looked a mess. You know, if we had, whoop, I keep wobbling with this phone, it keeps sliding off my steering wheel. Yeah, if we, if we had a plot inspection, that sort of thing, yeah, I know it looked a mess and I just didn't want any negative feedback. So I spoke to work, agreed that I could have a few days off this week, and yeah, now I'm down at the plot. So yesterday was not a day, let me move this because it's driving me bonkers a little bit. Yesterday was not a day for filming, it has to be said. I'm currently also marathon training and getting to sort of the nitty-gritty long run weeks, and last week I injured my knee on a run. Nothing specific, I think it was just a little bit of wear and tear, just a bit too much, and we run with our dogs as well, and I will often run my dog as well as one of my friend's dogs, and so I think it was just purely the impact on my knee that has just caused it to be a little bit unhappy. I have had it seen too, but yeah, anyway, I digress. So yesterday I came down to the plot after running sort of just over 7 miles. My knee was niggling, I was tired and I was having 2 tons of compost delivered, so I couldn't not come down, because you've sort of, when you get a delivery here, like a lot of other sites, you have to move your delivery on the day, because it can't be delivered directly to the plot because the path is too narrow for cars, and yeah, you do risk it being taken, unfortunately, by another plot holder who may not realise that it's a plot holder's and think that it's just a delivery that the council have had. So yeah, so I was tired yesterday and just needed to get a move on and get that stuff shifted, so that was what I did. I popped a headphone in, got my wheelbarrow and moved the compost, all 2 tons of it on my own. Cry me a river, I know, but yeah, it was just a hard slog yesterday and wasn't particularly interesting to watch, but I will give you an update of what the plot looks like, and then this morning, it's about 8:30 I think now, hence why the sun is lovely and bright but also very low, so it's blinding. Yeah, 8:30 now, and I've got a few hours here before I need to get some jobs done this afternoon, and that aren't at the plot. So yeah, so the 2 tons was moved yesterday. I haven't put all of it down onto beds yet. I've made one really long bed along the side of the plot, which I will show you, possibly a little bit wide, but I'll see how it goes this year. If I need to make it sort of more narrow, then I've always got the opportunity to do that, but I think I can reach into the middle of it from each side, so I think it will be fine. I've also had some sort of bark from a friend. She was cutting down some trees in her garden, because she just was, basically. And she rented a chipper and chipped the tree stumps, etc., and didn't realise at that point that I would find bark chippings very, very useful. So I'd sort of said to her, oh, I need loads of bark chippings, blah, blah, blah. She said, I've got 4 tons in my garden. So I think I've had 2 tons, and some other people have collected it as well. I've brought some cardboard down with me that was in my garden that we'd collected from a neighbour, which I'm going to use to line the paths today, and then hopefully I can get the main path done down the middle of the allotment, cover it with bark. I want to plant, I've got 3 new fruit bushes that I bought last week from Morrison's. No, it was this week actually, from Morrison's. They were just over £2 each, which I think is fantastic, so I'm going to plant those right at the front of my plot. Yeah, so that's the main plan really, is to get a path down, have a good tidy up. I've got some bags that I need to bring back with me that are just rubbish, and then yeah, I think that's about it, so I'll catch you shortly. Okay, so this is where we're at the start of today. So I've got my fruit bushes down there. I think I'm going to plant them in here, I think. I've got lots of bags of bits and pieces. A couple of them are rubbish, a couple of them are bark, some of them are horse poo that needs rotting down, so I need to put in the compost. This is my huge raised bed that I created yesterday. Here I think is a little bit wide, but I can still reach across it from either side, so hopefully it's okay. But this is super thick, like a good few inches thick. I also recovered this bed yesterday because there was some weeds coming through. I just shoved some sort of twigs and stuff on there to mulch it a bit. But yeah, so that's got a super thick coat on it. That's my garlic, but I think there's also weeds in there. I don't think there's actually many garlic, but the weeds and what I think is garlic all looks really similar. So I'm a bit stuck at the moment, so I'm leaving it as is. Here is another bed that I covered yesterday. Again, it's really thick layer of compost, so hopefully I'll get some good crops out of it. And then this is where it all just looks a little bit messy. So I did cover back over my weed suppressant yesterday because I had some weeds poking out, and obviously you don't want those getting out of control. The polytunnel desperately needs to come down, but I've just been doing other things first, basically. But yeah, so some of these bags, I think, what's in this one? Yeah, that's like my bark, and then that's my compost. That was the remainder from yesterday. And then that was the rest of my compost delivery in there. So yeah, basically I just need to have a good tidy up. I need to get rid of all of these random bags because I think it will look so much better once those are done. So I think I'm going to do that first. Get my rubbish back to the car, lay my cardboard down here and cover it with bark. And I think I'll be in a really good position then. So let's see. Hello, goodness me, it is sunny today. My eyes keep watering. Oh, so I think I'm done here for today. I'll give you a little tour in a second. I've met another neighbour today, which is lovely, and yeah, I feel like I've got loads done. But I've also checked my water butt today because it doesn't have a lid on it, and something's fallen in there and died, and like my biggest phobia in the world is dead animals. And I just peeked in over the side of it and I saw something in there, and I like gave the water butt a little nudge to see what it was, and yeah, it sort of floated away. So oh my goodness, freaking out a little bit. But I've got a friend who's absolutely good as gold, and she will come and get it out for me if my other half doesn't. So yeah, it should be okay. But now I don't know what to do because obviously there's only a little bit of water in there, it's not a lot. But I'm assuming that I'm going to need to empty that out. Do I need to get a new water butt now because something's died in there? I think it was a rat by the size of it. I think it was a rat, basically. Oh gosh, I'm totally freaking out. I really hate it. But anyway, I'm going to show you what I've got done today. The lovely neighbour that I just met just came down and told me what a good job I'm doing, so that was lovely. But yeah, let me show you what I've got done today because I feel like I've got a lot done. Okay, so here we are. So I've started adding these logs down the side of here, but I need to chop all the bits and pieces off. Then I've added my bark chip-ins, which actually, now that I've got them out of the bag, they actually look really quite good. I am happy with them. This bed I think was already filled. My garlic, another bed that I've put together today, and then I've popped my fruit bushes in. So that one there is raspberry, that one is blackberry, and that one is blueberry. So they're all in there. They're possibly quite close together, but if you actually look around there, there's quite a lot of space where the roots can go under, I'm sure. I'm tempted to pop my onion set in here, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to do that today or not. My rhubarb is still in here. This just needs a bit of a tidy up, but I'll do that as and when. I've popped the weed suppressant back down a little bit, covered these gaps here with a bit of wood to stop the weeds coming through, and again put the weed suppressant back down here. Compost, I've popped all my composty bits like my leaves and bits of rubbish and loads of poo in there. There's the water butt of doom that I'm trying to not go anywhere near before I freak out. But yeah, so managed to get enough bark down to here, which is about halfway up the plot. But yeah, that's how it looks now, which I think is finally starting to look like a compost bin, an allotment plot, which is very exciting. And then you may just be able to see behind the water butt there's a bag there that's got any weed suppressant that I've taken up, so like the stuff that was under here and the stuff that was under here, I've put that in that white bag back there, just so that I'm really freaked out by that water butt. So I was thinking about the fact that I was doing that when I noticed that there's something dead in the water butt. But yeah, I've just chucked the weed suppressant behind there so I can reuse it at some point if need be, basically. It's still got a shed full of cardboard. Let me show you how my rhubarb is doing. So I chucked a couple of crowns in here that I didn't think were going to do much, but this one is actually growing. So I'm glad that I threw that back in. Sorry, that one in the ground there isn't doing an awful lot. This one is just starting to poke its way through, and this one's got a leaf. So yeah, I feel like I'm finally getting an allotment plot. I've got 2 beds full, those bushes and the garlic, and I'm quite tempted to do my onions, but I'm going to check the time and I'll either do them or I won't today, but otherwise that's how it's looking. How fab is that? Okay, I've decided I am going to leave that there for today. I feel like it's been a success so far, so I'm going to leave it be. I'm not going to do the onion sets, but I'll be down in the next day probably when I bring somebody back to rescue said dead animal from the water butt, and it definitely is dead, guys. Like, there is no question about it. If I even had any inkling that it was alive, then I would have emptied the water butt and got it out, but it's definitely dead. But yeah, so I'm not going to do the onion sets. I can do that when I come down with somebody to help me with my water butt. Oh gosh, it's totally freaked me out now. I almost wish I hadn't looked, but I do check every time just in case something was stuck in there. But yeah, that definitely has given me the motivation to buy the last piece of gutter in that I need to go into the water butt, and then I can put the lid on it, because it's obviously my fault for not having put a lid on it. So yeah, I'll leave that one there with you. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next